Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Diane Deziel, and before to present today's video, I want to wish you all a happy new year. And also I want to let you know that I did pick one name for the contest, and the name was Ghislaine. So I will contact you this week so you could give me your address. Now to start that new year, I decided to do video for beginners. So I will start today with the skirt block, and I will give you the basic of pattern. First, what you're going to need is a skirt block pattern. So the back and the front. You could use any skirt block that you have. It doesn't have to be mine, but to make sure that you follow and you do the same thing that I do, it's better that they have only one dart front and back. If you don't have your skirt block yet, remember that you could do it following the recipe that I gave in my newest video. I redid for the skirt, the bodice, and the sleeve. If you already have a skirt block, you could use it, no problem, or you could also get the one that I propose in my Etsy boutique. Second thing is those blocks, you should have them without seam allowance, and you should make them in cardboard because we're going to trace them so many times. You're asking me very often what kind of paper, what kind of cardboard that I use. This is a poster cardboard that I get at the dollar store, and on one piece you could fit both skirt back and front. This one is about 56 centimeter by 71 centimeter. It costs only about $1. Now very often you're asking me if I have a book to propose or what's the method that I study. When I did study, we had no name for the method and we had no reference book at all. We used to make it ourselves. I studied fashion design from 1982 to 1985. So you could see that back then there was no computer. I didn't even use the typewriter. So everything done by hand. This is my table of content. And what we used to do is, in class, we do full-size pattern, and as a homework, we redo every single exercise, writing all the steps, giving it the style number, and doing in small scale the actual pattern. We do that for every single style, and that's how I'm going to show you. So we'll start with the gorge skirt, the flare. We'll do all kind of styles. Then you'll see some pleat, different kind of pleat. And then of course some yoke, gathers, dart pivoting, and a little bit of garment details such as pocket. And we'll do of course the waistband. So this is what I propose you. Get small scale, the same thing as your skirt block. So you could do it over and keep it as a reference in a little book. Now the many patterns that we will do together are practice. So what I suggest is that you get recycled paper. It's not white. Try to get it as light as possible so you'll see better the line that you'll trace. And it's much cheaper than the white paper. Now let's look at the skirt block. What we want to do is to be able to say which one is the back, which one is the front very easily. So the first thing I'll do is put them one over the other, the straight line on the straight line, so you could see that the width of the skirt is a little different. One is smaller, one is larger. Usually the back is smaller. The reason for the back to be a little bit narrower is that when you look at someone with the skirt from the front, you don't see the side seam. It's moved towards the back. That's the only reason. There's a second difference between the block, and it is the length of the dart. As you could see, one is longer, one is shorter. The back is longer because the pivot of the dart should reach the strongest part of your buttocks. While in the front, it's shorter because it's to reach the strongest part of your little tummy. So these are the main difference between the front and the back. And as you could see, the two side seam, they should be pretty much the same size when you work with standard measurement. If you do custom work, it could be different. The only reference that we have on the side seam would be the hip notch. And if we look at the dart, both dart the same thing. You have the two notch on top to say the width of the dart. You have what I call the jog or the arrow of the dart on top that will indicate you which side to close your dart. And you have the end of the dart that is indicated with a pivot, not a punch hole. The punch hole will be on a pattern piece. This is a block, so we have the final original point, it's the pivot. Now we start at the beginning, so the first thing we should do is a plan. So you're going to put your back and front one next to the other. It's nice to have them side seam next to the side seam, but it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly aligned. They're two separate pieces, completely separate. What I usually do is just place something heavy in the middle and trace all around. Before to remove the blocks, we're going to indicate both pivot, front and back. Here a little thing that I will add to your block. You should do your pivot point with the pattern awl. Make it big enough so you could go through with a pen or pencil to indicate it on the paper. Now, as you know, the pattern and plan and pattern is the first step in the creation of the garment, and you're going to lose precision at all the other steps. When you cut, you lose a little precision, and when you sew, you do lose also. So here, try to be as precise as possible. The first thing we'll trace are the dart. So you're going to trace from the pivot to the notch on both sides, and you do it for back and front. The next line we'll trace are the hip line for both back and front. Each of them we're going to trace from the center, so center front for the front hip line, from center back for the back hip line. I strongly suggest you use a square to trace those lines. That's going to be more accurate. You could use the inside or the outside of your square to trace. It might be easier in that case to use the inside, and you place it right on and move until it touches the hip notch. Check again, and when you're sure everything is straight right on, you could trace. Then we do the same thing with the back. So square on the center back and we move it until it touches the notch. Now I'm doing the plan for a basic skirt. The only thing I'm missing on my block is to indicate where I want my opening. On this one, I'm going to do it at the center back. This is a size 10, and usually the opening that we need for a size 10 is about 18 centimeters. So I'm placing my ruler from the waist at the center back, and I'm going to measure down my 18 centimeter opening that I need. Now, since it's the back, I'm going to put a second notch to do a double notch, and this is going to right away tell me that this piece is the back pattern. That second notch, I'm going to place it a centimeter down. Why a centimeter? Because my seam allowance will be 1 centimeter. Now the next thing I'll do, I'll put the grain line on my plan. They are usually parallel to the center, front or back. So I'm going to place my ruler parallel to center front and trace the grain line. Now if you saw me doing pattern before, you know that I usually place an arrow on one side of the grain line. This is to indicate the direction to place the piece on the fabric so they all go the same direction. So usually my arrow goes towards the bottom of the garment. As you know, we're going to do many styles of skirt. This is the first one, so I will call it number 100. Write down what is that piece. This is the back skirt, so you would write back skirt. The next thing we have to write on plan and pattern is the quantity to be cut. For this one, this is my back. There's an opening on the back, so this piece would be cut twice to make a full back, but also I do need a left side and a right side. So now what we write is one pair. That means a left and a right side. And that's what I will write, one pair. And the last information we have to write is what fabric are we using here. So this is the main fabric. We'll say self fabric. Now I go on my front. I'm going to write my information, starting with what is this piece, and this is my front skirt. Now the quantity to be cut. I want this piece to be in one piece for the front. So I'm going to have to cut this pattern on the fold of the fabric. So indicate the fold of the fabric and say to cut it only one time. I have the habit of putting 3 circles on the line that has to be on the fold of the fabric. Again, the fabric, it's going to be self fabric also, so I'm just going to write it down. We have to put the size of the pattern. I told you my block was a size 10, so I have to write down that this is a size 10 on each piece of the plan. The last thing we have to do is place the punch hole. These punch holes are going to be inside the dart, about 1 centimeter higher, and the punch holes are going to be reported on the pattern and also on the fabric, so it's going to be a reference for the sewing of the dart. To place the punch hole properly, you're going to find the center of the dart, then place the ruler from the center of the dart to the pivot. This way you'll be able to go up exactly 1 centimeter. And to differentiate the pivot and the punch hole, you're going to circle the punch hole. That's it, the plan is finished. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.